Welcome to Electrified. I'm Dylan Loomis, and in this episode, we'll be talking about NIO Stock and some of the unfortunate truths. NIO was founded back in 2014 by William Li in Shanghai. The company was founded to be a fully electric vehicle company that had a heavy focus on autonomy and technology. Of course, on the surface, this sounds a lot like Tesla, which we're very familiar with. However, when you look under the hood, there is no frunk. But more importantly, these companies are very, very different. Did you know that NIO does not actually manufacture vehicles? Did you know that they said this in their recent Q1 performance data? As of March 31st, 2020, the company operates with continuous loss and negative equity. The company's cash balance is not adequate to provide the required working capital and liquidity for continuous operation in the foreseeable future. Or did you know that NIO lost $316 million in 2016, $703 million in 2017, $1.4 billion with a B in 2018, and $1.6 billion with a B in 2019. This is a cumulative net loss of $4.6 billion over the last 4 years since their IPO. NIO management has come out and said that they plan to be profitable within the next 1 to 2 years. Color me very skeptical on this point, as they also said that they will indeed need to expand outside of China, specifically Europe, for them to have any shot at profitability. As we know, expanding into Europe is very difficult due to many government regulations, and the locals in Europe have strong brand loyalty to the brands that are already there. Now we have many people calling NIO the comeback kid, as they really struggled in 2019, but the stock has seen a huge run up over the last few months, so we really need to take a look to find out what's actually going on here. NIO Stock made its public IPO in September 2018 on the New York Stock Exchange. They sold shares at $6.26 per share, raising roughly $1.8 billion. In the first week of trading, it nearly doubled to $13 per share. But after that, as you can see from the trends, their stock has really struggled up until recently. For anyone that's not familiar, I do want to quickly cover their models and the timeline for NIO. Their first car was also a sports car, the EP9, which was partially developed by their Formula E racing division that they used to own. NIO has since sold this division of the company in an effort to continually streamline operations. However, they do continue to sponsor this team. Formula E is the first all-electric global racing series and is run by the same organization as Formula One. Their first publicly available sedan, which was the 7-seat SUV dubbed the NIO ES8, started shipping back in June 2018. This was shortly followed up by their NIO ES6. The ES6 SUV is their best seller, but is only available in the Chinese market along with all of their current models. It went on sale just last year and is a smaller ES8 with only 5 seats. The long-range version features a 100 kilowatt-hour battery pack and is stated to get 380 miles on the NEDC testing cycle. It goes 0 to 62 miles per hour in roughly 4.7 seconds and sells for around $60,000. They do have 5 upcoming models, but these are beyond the scope of this episode. NIO actually offers a concierge service where they will come, pick up your car, take it, and charge it for you. However, they are more well known for their battery swap stations, dubbed power stations. They debuted their first battery swap station in May 2018. Yes, NIO is focusing heavily on battery swaps in an attempt to avoid range anxiety, battery degradation, and cost concerns. It's actually a super interesting business model. Thus far, they've completed over 500,000 battery swaps, and each one takes roughly 3 to 5 minutes. This model allows users to continually have access to the latest battery tech, as the battery packs are leased from NIO. It's basically a battery rental system where users can rent a pack for the day, so if a user is going on a road trip, they can actually choose a bigger pack. If a user is only daily driving, they can choose smaller packs to save on costs. Of course, there are certainly drawbacks to this model, as there are some users who want to own the battery pack for those that take care of it well, and they implement good charge and discharge habits, which adds to the full asset of owning an electric vehicle. And it needs to be noted, this is also a very expensive model, especially up front, to operate these stations, as there are many moving parts. And the question needs to be posed, what will happen when and if there are an order of magnitude more NIO cars on the road? These battery swap stations can only take one car at a time, so if you eventually have a line of 10 to 20 cars waiting to be charged, they'll also need to have all of those battery packs charged up and ready to go, as I've heard users even now that have to wait anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour for a pack to be ready to be replaced. Getting into one of my favorite parts about NIO, although it may not be the best business decision, it's a very cool concept and one that I would enjoy personally as a user. They have their NIO houses and NIO spaces. NIO houses are wholly owned by NIO, and they're basically swanky clubhouses for NIO users and anyone else interested in the brand. Think of them like a WeWork space mixed with a cafe and daycare, and also a place that offers office spaces where they hold forums and events, and they hold guest speakers, and they also sell merchandise. It's an opportunity for users and non-users alike to come experience the brand, to see the cars on the first floor showroom, and then the upstairs is only accessible to the car owners themselves, which gives a very VIP feel. And for anyone that knows, people love feeling like they're a part of something and they love feeling special. NIO should have roughly 200 NIO houses and spaces by the end of 2020. NIO spaces, on the other hand, are partly owned by NIO and partners. The NIO spaces are smaller and serve primarily as a brand sales space. As mentioned, NIO is heavily focused on the user experience and technology. Once again, they are following in Tesla's footsteps from a standpoint of they do not use the dealership model and they sell directly to their customers, which they refer to as users. NIO does have an internally developed app where they can get company information. They can actually interact with company employees all the way up the food chain to CEO William Li. They can chat with other users and customers in the NIO ecosystem, and they can get information on their vehicles. Nomi AI is their version of artificial in-car intelligence, focusing on an emotional experience customized for each user. It's about half the size of a baseball and sits in the center of the dashboard. NIO intends to have Nomi serve as the soul of their cars to create an emotional connection with their users. Nomi has expressions and speaks like another living thing.
早上好。
早，Nomi。
我们出发吧。
Nomi also offers things you would expect like navigation and music control, but also other things you wouldn't expect, like taking selfies of passengers in the car. Getting into some of the risks of NIO, as mentioned previously, they do not manufacture their own cars. What happens is they take deposits, they provide drivetrains, and then the rest of the vehicle is actually built by JAC Motors, a Chinese state government-owned company. NIO did at one point have plans to build a factory in Shanghai to manufacture their own cars. However, this was met with much skepticism and the government deemed this to be too risky of an endeavor, so NIO backed away from their plans, and as of now, they do plan to continue to contract out the manufacture of their vehicles. This is important to note because once again, people have recklessly used this data to compare them to Tesla and showing how they were somehow superior, that they brought a car to market in 4 years from their founding. When you don't actually manufacture your own car, achieving this is much, much easier. They of course have not had to spend any time or money building out manufacturing facilities. In addition to this, contracting manufacturing is not easy. There are so many moving parts, the costs are higher, not including the 1/5 of cars that NIO at one point had to recall due to fires and other issues. Farming out this portion of the business results in very slim and right now very poor gross operating margins. Listen to this. At the end of 2019, NIO was paying about $180,000 for every car that it sold in expenses. Their cars sell for roughly $60,000 or 1/3 of the cost outlay per car. Anyone that can speak understands this is not sustainable. Of course, in addition to this, we have tensions between the US and China, and government subsidies that have already gone away and others that cannot last forever. Taking a look at their sales, overall EV deliveries were 20,565 in 2019 compared with 11,348 vehicles delivered in 2018 for an 81% year-over-year increase. Q4 2019 deliveries were up to 8,224 from 7,980 in Q4 2018. They generated $409 million in revenue in Q4 2019, but have a negative gross margin of around 10%. I am going to release an episode diving much deeper into NIO and the financials and fundamentals of the company after their Q2 earnings report, so if you're not already, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that episode. And to wrap up the video, touching briefly on the investment opportunity, which once again we'll cover much more in depth in the next NIO episode. Almost every metric right now for the stock, they're deemed an expensive company. Of course, when you zoom out and take a look at the entire EV market, if NIO can continue to trend up the sales charts, they've historically been about the 5th best seller to date. If they can continue to ramp production and increase demand and spread brand awareness, of course, there's huge room for potential. However, this is still a very, very speculative stock. Taking a look at the historical stock performance, as mentioned, they had a very, very rough 2019. However, they've seen a huge run up from positive sales data over the last few months. They delivered 3,740 vehicles in June, which was up 179% from 1 year prior. It also capped off its best quarter ever with 10,331 vehicles sold, which was up 191% year over year. However, NIO did raise $200 million via private placements of convertible notes in February of this year and another $235 million in March. Tencent has also been an early investor and they recently boosted their stake to 15% of the company. Pair these investments with other major investments from economic development authorities and the Chinese EV future, and you can start to see why the share price has run up recently. I did want to mention quickly, as you probably saw, Goldman Sachs put out a price target that was much lower than where the stock was trading. Guys, we need to remember that Goldman Sachs owns a large portion of NIO. Them putting out this stock price prediction will give them potentially the opportunity to buy more shares at a lower cost. Please let us learn from Tesla. These analysts either A, have no idea what they're talking about and no idea how to value the EV boom, or 2, they have ulterior motives that are more important than providing actual relevant information, and hence, we really shouldn't put too much stock, if any, into these analyst price targets. And guys, I know you may be sitting there with a plethora of questions, how do we invest in NIO over the next 6 to 12 months? What do you expect for the company going forward? And this video may have raised more questions than it answered. However, this video was just meant to initiate coverage of NIO, as in the future we'll continue to get more and more in depth. And as always, if you have questions, leave them in the comments below. I do my best to read and respond to everyone. However, this is not sustainable, so if you want direct responses that you know you will get, head over to Patreon where we will begin to have exclusive content there. Thank you guys for watching this long. If you are indeed still here, please remember to like this video if you did and subscribe if you're not already. Stay tuned for the Q2 earnings report on NIO that should be up within the next 24 to 48 hours, depending on when you're watching this video. Thanks again, guys. I hope you have a wonderful day.